Most men don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they were never taught the psychology behind their choices. If you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever said, I know what to do, so why am I not doing it? You're operating from a psychology you've never examined. I'm Daniel Brown, and I specialize in men's psychology, the patterns, behaviors, and mental frameworks that shape a man's life. My work focuses on helping men build identity, structure, and direction through practical psychology. Today, we're breaking down three invisible psychological patterns that control a man's life: the now trap, identity fog, and the discomfort gap. Once you understand these, your habits, your discipline, and your direction will finally make complete sense. The first psychological pattern that keeps men stuck is what I call the now trap. The now trap explains why a man can want a better future but still choose the wrong thing today. It's the invisible tug of war between who you are right now and who you want to be one day. Most men live their lives trapped inside the present moment, not in a mindful or spiritual sense, but in a reactive, emotional sense. You wake up with good intentions, but by lunchtime, you've talked yourself out of them. You say, I'll start later, but later never comes. This isn't a behavioral flaw, it's temporal discounting, a cognitive bias where your brain literally devalues your future. You want the future, but your brain prioritizes relief in the present. So what happens? You delay the gym. You avoid hard conversations. You push back on the business idea. You choose dopamine loops over meaningful action. Not because you're undisciplined, but because your psychology has been trained to protect your emotional comfort right now. Here are four signs that you're stuck in the now trap. You delay anything uncomfortable, even when you know you benefit from it. You rely on motivation instead of structure. You talk about the future as an idea, not a commitment. Your emotions decide your day instead of your identity. Let me give you an example. Have you ever said, I'll do it tonight, and then the evening arrives and your brain convinces you otherwise? That's the now trap in action. Here's the professional explanation. Your emotional brain, the limbic system, always wins in the moment, unless your identity, the prefrontal cortex, is clearly defined. We'll come back to identity in a moment. But before we move on, here's the first tool. My actions today need to match the man I want to be in 5 years. This trains your brain to value the future. The second psychological pattern that keeps men stuck is what I call identity fog. Identity fog is the inability to clearly articulate who you are becoming. And without identity, discipline will always collapse. Here's why. A man's brain makes decisions based on who he believes he is, not who he wants to be, not who he talks about becoming, who he truly sees himself as. If a man believes he's inconsistent, he will behave inconsistently. If he believes he's the type who can't finish things, he won't finish things. Identity becomes destiny. Most men make the same mistake. They try to change their behavior without ever changing their identity. Here's a simple example. If a man says, I need to start going to the gym, that's behavior. If he says, I am the type of man who trains regardless of motivation, that's identity. Identity creates consistency. Behavior creates inconsistency. Here's the framework, the identity triangle. Point 1. Who I am now, honest, raw self-awareness. Point 2. Who I'm becoming, clear, defined, purposeful. Point 3. What I'm doing today, daily, to bridge the gap. Identity-driven action. Identity fog exists when point 2 is missing. Most men never consciously define who they're becoming, so their daily decisions have nothing to anchor to. So here's a practical example. If you don't know who you're becoming, your brain will always revert to who you've always been. This is why you sabotage progress. This is why you drift. This is why motivation fades. Here's the tool, the identity sentence. Write this sentence every day. The man I'm becoming behaves like this. Then finish the sentence. This rewires identity. The final psychological pattern is what I call the discomfort gap. The discomfort gap is a gap between discomfort a man thinks something will cause and the discomfort it actually causes. Men dramatically misjudge discomfort. They overestimate the pain of growth, and they underestimate the pain of staying the same. Let me repeat that. Growth isn't painful. Staying the same is. This misjudgment creates stagnation. Most men don't avoid discomfort because they're weak. They avoid it because they've never been taught a framework for discomfort. So here's the framework. The discomfort ladder. Level 1. Minor discomfort. Small challenges that train emotional muscles, like waking up 30 minutes earlier, tidying your space, or doing the task you've been avoiding for 2 days. Level 2. Controlled pressure. Deliberate challenges that stretch identity, hard conversations, new responsibilities, learning a new skill, or setting deadlines. Level 3. Purposeful adversity. Serious identity shifting challenges, a fitness transformation, building a business, mastering a skill, or reinventing yourself entirely. The mistake men make is trying to jump from level 1 straight to level 3. That's how burnout happens. That's how inconsistency happens. That's how self-sabotage happens. Men need progressive exposure, not extreme exposure. Here's the professional explanation. The nervous system adapts gradually. If you expose it to controlled, predictable discomfort, it strengthens. If you expose it to chaos, it shuts down. This is why men quit. Not because the goal is impossible, but because the pace was wrong. So here's the tool. The daily discomfort prescription. Write down one thing every day that causes mild discomfort. Just one. Do it daily for 30 days. Your entire psychological tolerance will change. So here's the truth. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more discipline hacks. You need clarity. Psychological clarity. The now trap explains your inconsistency. Identity fog explains your lack of direction. The discomfort gap explains your fear of growth. Each week, I'm going to break down another core piece of men's psychology so you can build the identity, the structure, and the direction you've been missing. Subscribe, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.